Hello, this is CodeFit Command Group. We're going to be doing a project walkthrough and a brief setup. So if you read the GitMe, the GitHub, there are prerequisites, and I'm not going to go over installing it. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you're going to need Git, MongoDB, and Node.js, and then you're going to pick a directory you want to, put this repo in, and you can just get a init, and now you're gonna want to clone it. So you do git clone. That's all given in the GitHub. So now you have that. And see, we have the files in there. The next thing you're gonna need to do is npm install, and that just installs like some of the things you need, like Mongoose, cores, and there might be one
Express,
more.
yeah.
Express, yeah.
So yeah, that'll install all the dependencies for the server and React, what they need to use in order to communicate between each other. So while that's going,
we can set up the database.
Yep, we'll set up the database.
Setting up the database, you'll enter MongoDB Compass. You're gonna add a connection. The default is good to go. Just keep it default. It should be 27017.
And that's what's used in the server.js.
And it looks like this defaulted to this, but essentially you'll okay, there's no data in it. Oh no, there is. So let me essentially, I'm gonna delete this database real quick.
We're dropping the database.
Yeah, drop.
All right.
And now you'll go to that new connection you just made, and you're gonna create a database. You can name it cadets and records.
Yeah, and so making sure that cadets and records are used is important, because some of the Mongoose function calls that will save things back to the database require those as their connection string.
Mm-hmm. So now you can import a JSON file, and we have some example data. GitHub, you can import that, and now you're good to go.
Yep. And so in the future, what we want to do, kind of towards the system testing phase, is get our software engineering cohort, so like everyone in our class, we want to get their actual information so that when it comes time to demonstrate what we've been doing, they can go look it up on the web browser themselves and then actually see their own stuff. So that's kind of towards the later end. We're going to put that on a Raspberry Pi and then just have the IP address open on those ports.
So now your database is up and going, and you're going to want to make sure that it's running. It should run by default, but if it's not, there'll be a connect button. You just click it. So in here, we're going to run two commands. You want to run node server
first.
Server.js first.
And if it runs correctly, you'll see connection established, and the API is running on 5000, which we do see.
And then the next command is npm start. Another thing to note is the npm install that we did in the beginning. You only have to do that once, and sometimes after a new commit, especially if we added in the future the contact us page, we'd probably use node mailer, and we would have to add that.
Yeah, that would be another install, but after the initial install, you can do package-wise install, so npm install node mailer. We'll just only do that one package. So yeah, the login page, previously what we had was that at that point, when you just had the cadet code, you didn't even need to put in a company. You could just log in, and the logic was messed up. So we went in and we fixed that by adding the double and operator to our authentication function, which validates the inputted company is the one that matches the cadet code's company that's stored in the database. So whatever code that's in the database has that company, it validates that matches the inputted one, and then it will log in.
And you can see here with Chris 25148, he's an alpha company.
Yeah. Wait.
If we try
try Bravo.
Try Bravo or anything,
it's not going to work.
Coconuts, unicorn, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But when you put the correct company in, it now works. So
yes.
a recent push that we're glad worked. You can see the calendar automatically populates the current day as blue, and then there's some example data that we put in for February, so you can see the dates that they worked out in green here. And you can click on these, opening a window, showing the date, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the runtime. And this is a mock score, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But now when you enter a workout, it actually calculates a realistic code. These are just made-up numbers that we did.
And so we'll go ahead and do a demonstration of that. So we'll go back to today. And also one thing that we need to fix is the day population. So right now it doesn't register a new day until 8 o'clock at night. It's 4 hours early. So this will get put in for tomorrow, which we'll fix after this. So let's say let's get 100. 60, 100. Oh, that's not it. 100, and then, what was it, 845 is the max?
845 is the max.
So yeah, this should be 100, a score of 300, because each category is 100. So we'll just hit submit. Perfect. So when it logs it correctly, it'll pop up an alert window, and that will show your score. In the future, we want this whole side div to kind of just transition into a check mark, and then it will show the score, just make it look more aesthetically pleasing. And so now, key thing right there, you just saw the refresh. That is huge. So first off, it did store it, and it showed that just at the wrong day, which we'll fix. But it shows the correct calculated score. And then also on the refresh, previously, whenever we refresh the page, it would automatically log out the user, and they'd have to re-log in, which is obviously not acceptable. So what I found was that using session storage and local storage in the browser, you can store like a key value pair, which we use to index 1, the cadet code, and 2, the name of the user in local storage. And then in session storage, we just store a Boolean, which is like authenticated. And what basically happens is that on page load of the main page, it will show, it'll search for this in local storage, this pair, or in session storage, excuse me. In session storage on page load, it's going to search that the auth key has the value of true. And if it does, then it won't redirect after every single load to the login screen, because you're already logged in. I tried using a Java Web Token, but this was just way easier, and it didn't require any other dependencies. It was just automatically built into React. So that was one of the big things that we changed. So anytime you refresh after you log in, you don't have to keep logging in. And then also the calendar API on the server side needs a cadet code to find all the workouts that person did. And also some of the other functions need a name. And so what we saw happening is after you reload the page, the name and the cadet code variables would just zero out, because we use a state hook to store those values in React, which is volatile. And so after each reload of the page, those variables get wiped. And so we change them to store it in local storage, so that after the refresh, it's going to look for the key value pair, which will hold their cadet code and their name, so that the state hooks only need to be active for the initial page load, and then after every refresh, it'll just get it from local storage, so that all the APIs for the calendar and other aggregation functions still work, which has been very good.
Yeah. And another thing we added is, so one, you're able to re-enter this workout, and it'll just overwrite the one we just entered for a 100. So say we enter a 0, and I just want to show this. So this guy is an alpha, and you can see the alpha company average here is 230. If we give this guy a terrible PFE score, which this should be a 0, you'll see that the alpha company average will automatically go down, and you can see that alpha's just dropped down to 5th place, and their score has reflected. Before, essentially we had aggregations in the database, and we still
Compass, in Mongo
in Mongo Compass that merged to another database that was then pulled to the website, and that's the same with the companies or the core leaders, the top 8 cadets. But the thing with merge and Mongo Compass is You have to actually manually run that. I couldn't find a way.
Yeah, there's no way to automate aggregations in Compass that we could find. So in putting the aggregations on server.js, they'll get ran every single time a workout's submitted, so that you can get this real time feedback of the averaging, and then also same with the core leaders, that'll update as well. The history graph is still fake data. It's going to be tough, just with the time we have left to get that implemented, pulling data from the database and then graphing it, just because that's a template we found. And then also in the future, we're going to add a contact us page right here, and the aforementioned node mailer, which will just send out an automated email to the email group we have right now. We're hoping to get that implemented soon, maybe in the next week. And then also, what we want to do is get, like I said, our cohorts example data, so their actual cadet code and their actual PF, or not actual, but their cadet code and all their like first name, last name, company information, so we can start making fake data so that they can run it on their own in class. So like, let's say our next project report or progress report, I wanted to put it all on a Raspberry Pi and just have 3000 and a couple of the other ports that are required open. So running this all on a Raspberry Pi and then having it on one of the Ubiquity servers on CadetNet, so that they can do it themselves and actually see what's going on. Because I feel like that's going to be pretty impactful, and just being able to like, oh, I log in with my own cadet code and my own company, and I have my own like website. So that's kind of for the future. Also, some other things we need to do, create the contact page, and then we also need to do the animation right after you submit, and then kind of just some other front end things like maybe some transitions or something like that on the scroll. But right now, all the back end stuff is pretty solid. We're going to do some unit testing with the submission input fields, so non-integer submissions, out of bounds submissions. That's what we're going to be testing for. Also, we're going to be testing error responses from the servers. So if there's an input that's undefined or doesn't go through properly, having the right error message come to the front end and then having it refresh and say user try again or something like that. So having those right pop-up windows, and then the final thing, like I was saying, is having the cadets test it, making sure the functional and non-functional requirements are met, coming up in the future. But it's coming together nicely. I think we'll have a working beta prototype by 17 April, hopefully. That's our goal. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Yep, that's all. So, thank you.
Yeah.